Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah. I'm with the Midwest Writing Center, and today we are having an interview version of our show rather than a short writing lesson. In case you are new to the series, those are your options. Uh, for most of the hour, I will be interviewing someone cool in the arts, doing interesting things, who's got some good stuff to say about it. After that, I'll give you updates on the Midwest Writing Center, and then that will be followed by a writing prompt. So, um, most excitingly, most importantly, what we have for you today is an interview with Daniel J. Flosi, a technician and poet living in Rock Island, Illinois. He has work published in E-Ratio, postmodern poetry. He has work out there all over the place, actually. This is a very modest bio that I'm presenting. And I can say it's innovative and fun and kind of on the nose for like getting getting the feelings out. I'm a fan. I'm not super well versed in Daniel's work, but I can say that what I have engaged with, I have been really glad to engage with. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today for doing this interview. It's been a long time coming, I think.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm glad to get to do it.
I before we started recording, I told Daniel that this is like a particularly special moment for me, like a weird sort of full circle moment for me, because when I started at the Writing Center, I was just social media manager, and I was revitalizing all of all of our socials. We had a Twitter account and a Facebook, like several Facebook pages, and the Twitter was never used, and we didn't have an Instagram, and all of this stuff. The first person who interacted with me was Daniel J. Flossie. So it's like especially special for me. Um, okay, we can get over me being sentimental and move on to the meat and potatoes. I'm gonna start out with my favorite questions. How did you get started writing?
I started writing just out of that typical teenage angst and frustration, I guess. Yeah, it's something that I think I was encouraged in elementary school to do, and I really enjoyed doing it. Of course, I was a reader growing up, so just that was the way.
It's funny. That's like my favorite question to ask, and the next one too. They're questions that I have to ask writers and artists.
Yeah.
Um, but my answer to like how did you start writing is really sad. And it's like it's the truth, but I also think it's funny. So I'm like, I was a lonely child. But it's like nobody wants to hear that. That's not the answer, babe.
Yeah. Yep. Child of divorce right here. Only child. Just a lot of time to myself.
A lot of time to myself, a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
Uh, so then, why do you continue to write?
I continue to write because it's an exploration. It's a way to just kind of explore the world around me and the people around me, to observe the way the mind works and try to try to get it out and understand things a little bit more.
That's so beautiful. I think that is a question that we, the Writing Center, will ask folks who are doing events with us is why does writing matter or why is writing important? And you did it right into there. Your your reason is also the reason. I think that's
Hmm.
really cool. So thank you. I think that those can be really sorry, I was adjusting so I can take notes. I didn't make myself space at this table. I had lunch here. uh, um, yeah, I think those can be like sort of really difficult questions, but I think that they're sort of also the crux of like what the point is, right? And so I
Hmm.
really like to ask writers, and it's not always obvious, and it's not always that I'm talking necessarily to writers. Like sometimes I'm talking to designers or potters, and it's the same question, right? But
Hmm.
different different context around it.
I think it's always interesting because it's not something that I've ever tried to articulate,
Oh,
but
that makes
it's
me,
there. You know what I mean? It's underneath. So
I'm really happy to be the first to ask you.
yeah.
Now part of what I'm hoping to promote by having you here today, excuse me, is that you have a new publication. It's not new anymore. You have a new publication you've been working on editing. And I really want to talk about it. I think that it's a really, and I might even screen share here in a moment. But I think it's a really exciting magazine. Please tell me about Stone Corpse Press.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, for asking me. Yeah, so we're a micro publisher. Right now it's just me. I'm doing everything. I'm reading submissions, I'm editing, I'm designing, I'm doing the layout, website, social media, um, and we're publishing just micro chapbooks and chapbooks right now. Um, we do about a 40 copy print run. So we're really small, trying to just keep things intimate and cozy. And we like poetry. A lot of poetry gets submitted, flash fiction, microfiction, um, surreal, abstract, artwork, just about anything and everything that's um, unique.
Um, are you doing both? I'm just to clarify, are you doing both chapbooks and mini chapbooks?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exciting. What are you looking for in a mini? Like what's the word count on that?
So I on the website, I think up to 16 pages is what I've got. I think it's a nice number for, it's enough space to get a lot in there, but it's also quite small compared to a lot of the publications that you see. So I think it's an interesting way to interact with a book.
Yeah, it's I think a nice size. I didn't really think about that in advance. But I think that when we, the Writing Center, look at chapbooks, we're looking 30 to 60 pages or 40 to 60 pages. But 16 pages is, first of all, a good number for creating a book. Having having an even number of pages is
Yeah.
very useful. Um, but yeah, I can see just in my mind, I'm like, oh, I have projects that make sense in that size rather than the bigger size because you want to sort of create a collection that is coherent and cohesive as a unit.
hmm
I just sorry, you got me. I've never really thought about that length, and I'm
Yeah, that's
the
at
wheels are
60
turning.
pages that's really where that came from, was just what can I do? Because I print it out, I make the books myself. So that's why that number came to mind. And then, yeah, then you start to play around with it. And it's nice to, if you're writing poetry, it's a good number of poems that you can have in there, but it's to feel like it's a solid work, a full piece of work, but at the same time, it's something that you can consume in just a couple hours.
Yeah. Um, so I want to dig into Stone Corpse for a little bit before I get back to your writing. Partially because of the way that I wrote my notes. Um, you have no, that's not the next question. Um, okay, so you have a subscription option for folks who want to engage with Stone Corpse Press regularly without checking in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just basically offering everything that we publish in the year, to come to your door. Um, I also do a zine through my online magazine. It's called Stoned, Black with Blackstone, Whitestone, and we include issues of that as well. And it's like you said, we just kind of ship them out, and you don't have to even worry about what you want. And it's a nice. if you trust a publisher and trust what they're coming out with, it's a good way to support and get to read some cool stuff.
Yeah, I've had subscriptions before. Not always, money is a thing, time is a thing. So yeah, I think it's always sort of worth it to at least consider because you're not gonna, it's hard to read outside your comfort zone, or read outside your inclinations if you don't try. So that's something that I think is cool. So, Stoned, I think is really, really funny because you've got Stone Corpse Press and then you've got Blackstone, Whitestone. Um, so, right, stones. Can you tell me about Blackstone, Whitestone? Is that you? Is that a collaborative project?
Yeah, that's just me as well. I was working with an artist for a little bit on there, but for the most part, that's just been my project as well. I've been trying to find ways to get people involved with that with me to work with me, but just dependability, I think, is tough. So I just keep going at it by myself.
That's so much work. That's not just a press. That's not just a couple of publications. That's like, I don't know, a lot. And you're doing every part of it. That's so much. I didn't realize it was just all you. Um,
Yeah, I think it's Blackstone Whitestone's gotten to a place where I'm able to just kind of cruise. People find out about it from just various places, Duotrope, wherever their friends blog, and so I don't really have to put much into advertising, social media, stuff like that. I've gotten to the point where I just get submissions and kind of read them as they come in, and so that's helpful. I think to be able to not have to just constantly hammer down on, hey, there's a submission opportunity or whatever. Um,
that
so yeah,
is that is
it,
nice.
it's a lot though.
Promotion is legwork.
Yeah.
Not having to get onto that path is at least something, some big subtraction from your work. They're also gorgeous. I'm gonna go ahead and screen share. Um, if you don't mind, I'm gonna share one of the more recent. Maybe I'll do a couple of the more recent books in your store if that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, just doop right over here. So look at these covers are gorgeous, first of all. And you get to preview them a little bit in these pictures. This is a picture here, right? That just didn't load.
No, it's just a blank space.
But you can see the cover is gorgeous. We can get this is also, I want to say, pretty hard to do, like from a design standpoint, is like maintain the formatting of a poem that isn't, a column on the page. Um, so kudos to you for that too. I'm just gonna keep complimenting you. But then, the other, come on, we can go backwards. But the other books look different because they are different. And that's also, a good sign about the quality of the work you're putting out. I think this cover is really gorgeous. This one in particular just speaks to me.
Nice.
Um, then, yeah, you can see a little preview. If you want to read these poems and decide to buy them, I recommend. Um, yeah, let's do more. Okay, I'll stop because I clearly cannot help myself. And well, I know you're accepting submissions right now. When was your last release before we get into submissions? I'm just bouncing all over the place.
Just February 28th, we released Caleb Jordan's Ideals.
That just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's was a chapbook that Caleb's been working on. We actually published a few of his poems in Blackstone Whitestone. He approached me with what was pretty much a micro chap and I loved them. It's a Crown of Sonnets, and so I published a few of them, and I started thinking about it. And I just thought, that would be awesome if I could incorporate that with Stone Corpse, because at the time I was coming up with the idea for Stone Corpse, kind of working out some of the framework for that, and so I kind of spoke to him about publishing with Stone Corpse, and he was into it. And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, I have another set of Crown Sonnets to go that play off of it." So it kind of worked out. So that's what Ideals is two crowns of sonnets. Can't be.
That's I, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Uh, a crown of sonnets that is successful, I feel like, is almost impossible. Two is just showing off. That's just bad manners. Oh,
I think in his on the about page he says that they're writing about writer's block and that it's not real. It doesn't exist. And that was his way of proving it, I think. So it's pretty cool.
that's something I'm so happy to hear. That's something that we talk about a lot. I'm not married to a particular philosophy, but it's something we talk about a lot at the center, which is that there are two kinds of writer's block, and one is specific to professional writers who are unable to do the work that is required of them to survive, right?
Mhm.
And the other is I'm having a hard time putting words to the feeling, or I'm having a hard time getting the motivation to do the thing. Um, and well, I'll just say Ryan's philosophy. And honestly, anytime he has strong feelings about something, he's got backup, he's got resources or references, right? He can cite his sources. So I'm not saying he's wrong. I just have not read into it, or I just am not married to this philosophy. But um he insists that that one doesn't exist, that what we're doing there is like allowing that, I don't know, insecurity, that boredom, that bad feeling to sort of win. And like just because like you can write without it being good is part of the point. Like what you need to do is just write to get out of it.
Mhm.
And we've talked a lot, well, separately, I have done a lot of thinking and teaching on getting through writer's block because with that in mind, with the idea that this is something that we can just work through if we just do it. Because I think that part of the problem is like we're afraid of being bad, and like you just have to be bad sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get it out, right?
A whole project in service of we can do hard things is just chef's kiss. I was afraid to like do the whole motion. I don't know what happened there. That's so cool. And I love too that you were like, no, I like you. Let's keep working.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was lucky enough to publish Caleb previous I think it was like a year, maybe two before that. So I known his work, I known him, and yeah, you got to be able to just reach out and ask somebody a question. Otherwise, everybody's just going to sit behind their behind
Yeah.
their desk and not wonder and just wonder what if. Um, but yeah, I can't I can think of so many different times when I was writing and I just felt like nothing good was coming out and I'm just gonna trash it and move on, and months later you go revisit it. How many times do you revisit it and you find a line that's just fantastic that you couldn't believe that you were gonna pass up on or just let sit there and not use it, I think that happens quite a few times, I think.
You led me two places and I didn't write them down. So hopefully this isn't too messy. I feel like no matter what, without fail, anytime I sit down to write something I'm excited about, I've got from either a warm-up paragraph to a warm-up page. And I, realize it 3 weeks later or whatever, and I'm so upset about it. I'm like, no, this is the thing that got me started though. This has nice lines in it. Like, why? Um, and then great, I segued myself. I would love to like hypothetically, I would love to. I think in reality, I would end up cringing a lot. But I would love to like sit down and be like, okay, we're gonna find the good lines and we're gonna set them aside so that we remember them and come back to them because I know that's something we see and hear from lots of writers is like, I had that line for 10 years. I didn't have a place for it. That could be a fun project too. Oh my God. Writing that down. Uh, you're gonna have to talk before I have a moment to write something down.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I think, and another thing too that I do is you find that line and then there you go. There's something that you can build off of. You can write from that moment, that inspiration. It's a good way to return to something that is, worthwhile, worth your time, and it just can spark that good writing that you're looking for, or that you didn't think that you were writing in the first place.
you were like, I can talk, and you said beautiful things. Yeah, I'm so excited now of this idea of like not found poetry, but like finding those lines and making them and found poetry out of those lines. Like, what a
Mhm.
fun idea. Dear friends, take this idea, have it, create with it. But I was also thinking about, with that in mind, there's a book. Oh, can't remember the name of it. Something about a tongue. I'm looking it up.
All right.
I just wrote tongue book. The Tranquilized Tongue by Eric Baus is poetry that, as I understand it, I could be totally wrong, so that would be really annoying. As I understand it, the book came out of all the text is from a different one of his books, but it's rearranged as a new set of poems. And as I understand it, it was like there was difficulty in writing new work, and this was a way of reinventing and putting life into the last thing and getting back on the horse, so to speak.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I mean, he's a genius, so that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And you get to kind of put a different spin on some of the lines that you had.
And I don't think I would have known that if I hadn't been explicitly told that. Like, I think I would have just been like, this is a beautiful and surreal book of poetry. I don't think
Hmm.
I would have been like, ah, this is familiar because
That's
it's its own thing. Yeah.
I'll have to
Uh,
check that out. That sounds good. I
oh,
like
he's
the
a
title
genius.
too.
Oh, it's good, right? Tranquil.
Yeah.
Why I can't say tranquilized? I don't know. Just sounds wrong right now. No, he's a genius. This is a great segue. I'm so good at this today. If I had just stopped announcing it,
Yeah.
in
All
the
of it.
weird stuff, in the surrealist stuff, which I know is your jam, I want to say you list some of the styles of work that you're into on one of these pages. I know you're into um, experimental work. I know you're into Dadaism, which like stresses me out. Dadaism does, which I think is exactly like the reason. It's like for someone like me to break with the structure of what I think I need, right? Can you talk a little bit about the work that either inspires you as a writer and editor, or like that you like to see or work with or dream of working with?
Sure, yeah. Um, I think for me, I don't get too much into the Dadaist manifestos, I enjoy it. It's good to read, but it's not, I don't have to have a Bible to go off of for writing. The writing that I like explores sound and language, and it's going to make me read a line two and three times and then have to read it out loud because it's just fantastic and probably laugh a little bit silly, a lot absurd, and um, just work that is playful and kind of gets you to your own desire to write. That's one good sign for me that I am really digging what I'm reading. With Caleb's writing, that's where I found myself. I just kept jotting down notes, ideas, thoughts, and um, just that kind of it. That work has that spark. That it's there. There's an ember there that it's you can't deny that. So
That's I started like writing almost directly what you were saying because I was like, yeah, this. First I wanted to respond to it and then I was like, this is what art should be. Uh so I just have to rearrange my notes. I apologize because I'm doing this on hand while you're talking, by hand while you're talking. Writing that gets you to your own desire to write is like, man, that is exactly, I mean, I feel like that's, I'm not going to say all art should anything, right? I'm not going to be prescriptive like that, but like, yeah, art that makes you want to art, like,
mhm.
what else is there?
Yeah. That's why there's so many different kinds, right?
But you talked about something that I'll say in the circles that I've been in, I don't hear about a lot, but I know that a lot of writers I really admire, like Eric Baus, like Ryan Collins at the Midwest Writing Center, love to play with sound. And it's, language is spoken first.
Mhm.
That's factual. Um, but it's not something that I think we see or play with very often, especially with this super toxic idea of the solitary artist or the solitary writer, sorry. This idea that we like exist in attics with our cigarettes and our typewriters and never leave the house, uh, never leave the attic. Uh, I think has really gotten in the way. I don't know why that's so romanticized, but it's like universal, this image. But yeah, it's something that I wish that we saw more of, in part because like I was saying about Dadaism, I'm a little uncomfortable with it. If I don't know how to engage with the thing, I get frustrated. And that's for sure a me problem. But I think it's pretty pervasive in the world. If people don't know how to engage with something, they stop. So I think that sound-based poetry could be really, I don't know, transformative.
Yeah, definitely. It's interactive when you're reading it. It's something that you have to pay attention to. If you're reading something, it's so easy to get distracted on dozens of things. But if you're reading it out loud, um, even if it's just to yourself, you're gonna hear it. You're gonna pay pay more attention and just uh, gain more from it.
Yeah. That is not something I do a lot, but every time I do read a poem aloud, um, like someone else's, uh, it is a totally different experience. And I think that's something too that poets really have their finger on the pulse of is that I mean every once in a while you get like poet voice and somebody's got a monotone and it's just not a good time. You're like, man, how did you put those words together so beautifully and you don't know how to read them? Um,
Hear that.
but yeah, I think poets really understand that language is musical, and yeah, it's such a gift. There you go, everyone. Your homework is to read those poems aloud.
Oh yeah.
Just going back to our scheduled programming here. If folks wanted to be involved with Stoned or Blackstone, Whitestone, yes, I said that right. How would they get involved with that?
Mainly the website. Try to be as responsive as possible. If you have a question, if you don't, you know, don't know if something will fit. I had somebody for our contest ask, "Hey, are you into this?" They sent some pictures of the of the work, and I know that's not typical, but I'm willing to, you know, respond. And I think so for Stoned is on our website, bswszine.com. And there's a Stoned page and you can read all about it, what we're kind of looking for, kind of the guidelines. Stone Corpse. I'm only open for the contest for submissions. I just do that once a year, and that's so that I don't have too much work to to publish because I would publish a lot a lot more work than I'm capable of. And so yeah, so that's I have a contest open through in April till April 1st, and there's a page there with all the guidelines for that.
I think I want to do a screen share again because I think the Blackstone Whitestone uh stuff is so visual. Um, so yeah, thank you for the info on that. And I want to say, or maybe you already said that if you subscribe, you do get access to Stoned as well. Um, Shoot, there's so much on this website. I only really looked at Stoned before. Um,
Nice.
we're, we're gonna do another screen share. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah,
You're doing cool stuff.
appreciate it.
Okay, so first, this is the just like the homepage. We're gonna go to Stoned. Sorry, let's get rid of that. Like what? Oh my gosh. Okay. I love the background info too, but here's what I was scrolling toward. Yeah, here's our cover, contents, and then we get to the work. So beautiful. So this is very Goya-esque. I love being deeply uncomfortable by art, not in life. Um, okay, so I'll scroll away from this and go to this one, which I found really fun. I think you said up here it's snowballed ideas that felt more found than inspired. I think this is just really gorgeous and very zine, right? So we don't zines are having a comeback right now, and I don't know how to say this. I'm like a little offended by it because it's not like they died. But a lot of what we see too doesn't really remind me of my experience of zines in the I guess in the 90s. I'm a little behind too. Because zines the zine heyday was earlier than my zine heyday.
So I
Uh,
totally missed out on the zine heyday as well. But yeah, I think it seems like there's like a professionalization of zines
mhm.
that is uncomfortable.
It is, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a little really I was like a little embarrassed to be like I wasn't there, but I did experience zines in real life. So I'm grateful you said the same. Uh, because yeah, because this looks how I want a zine to look. Like I don't need it to be handwritten and photocopied, but I want it to have the homemade vibe, right? Like that's the point. It's a small
Mhm.
circulation, big ideas done by a real person. If I pick up a an ordinary magazine, um, it's so clean.
Mhm.
There's not, oh, here's the submission page up here. Forgot that I was like showing this to people. About as fun, probably. Um, yeah, it's so clean. There's such a lack of humanity in those things that are sterilized for the consumption by everyone. And I
Yeah.
think, where's the art in something that is made to be palatable to everyone?
Yeah, that's a huge kind of driving force for me is just with making books is man, I would get so upset if corners don't match to line up and stuff. And I finally realized that it's that imperfections that make each one unique. And I can accept those when they're coming from something that's handmade that's, small batch or whatever. But when I get a magazine that's supposed to be mass produced, and I find that it kind of irritates me that it's, my copy has this, it's not necessarily unique. I don't know why I don't accept it. But
No, no, I mean, I'm with you. It doesn't, I'm with you.
but yeah, I think it makes the experience. I did a zine, the Heart zine, and I actually did the oh gosh, I'm blanking on the technique, but the um, it's not lithograph, but anyway,
Oh, uh-huh.
I made that artwork for it, right? And each one that I stamped onto it came out differently, and I was just yeah, it was really beneficial to be able to just think that like each one is different, each one's unique, and nobody's gonna have the same thing.
Yeah, I wanted to, this is a, it's like a promotional thing for a magazine that is online, that does that too. I wanted to, I have to unfold it. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
That's what you're talking about, right?
That's cool. Yeah. Yep.
I wasn't sure. I have two issues of it, and I wasn't sure which one I was going for. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. Um, how did you get into publishing?
Um, I think about not too long ago, probably like about 10 years ago now. Um, I was doing a blog, writing, um, blogging, and just started to see other bloggers and their published work, and I just thought, oh, that's something that you can do. So there were some, I worked mostly on WordPress blogs and found some publications on there and kind of sent my work in and started to just expand that.
I commend you. I mean, that sounds like I don't know. I sit here and I think about how much work it is and how I know that I don't know how much work it is. So that's
Yeah,
very.
it's funny too because you said, "How did I start publishing?" And immediately I went with publishing my own work, but it's also publishing other people's work. And just, yeah, I think it was kind of hand in hand after doing enough of my own. I thought it would be really fun and a good exercise. I read for a few magazines before doing my own, and it's just a way to kind of interact with with writing.
Yeah, I think that's like a healthy progression, and I feel it so hard. I've read for magazines as well, and something, and I interact with a lot of writing. You know, we've got a workshop group at the writing center that I run one of them. And pretty often, especially like reading through submissions that like I want to publish, but they get other people don't, right? And they get shot down. I'm always like, no, this needs to be out in the world and I'm gonna make it happen. That's an impulse I wrestle, oh God, once a week. I'm like, I really like probably at all times have a tab open that's like, okay, to start your magazine, here's what you have to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely doable. I think that's the cool thing.
That is also, I think with zines, OG zines, and then also like the internet, um, that's a big part of the point is that it's doable, right? It's not just accessible for the creator, but for the audience. Well, I'm feeling very inspired in this moment.
Yeah, there's do it yourself, there's self-publishing, and I think there's a certain connotation that goes with that that I think is sort of ridiculous. Um, so I think that the more people that are doing these types of things, the better off we are. Because, like you said, there's work out there that should be read that's not being read.
I'm writing down The more of us who do this, the better we'll be. I think I need to write that down. Um, yeah, the stigma around self-publishing, I think, is like an assumption that folks like haven't gone through all the phases of like editing and whatever, which certainly happens, um, but is not universal. Sometimes, we want to make the best work we can make, and we go through the process, and then we're ready for it to be in the world. We make all the decisions we make for reasons. It's not, yeah, it's not anything. As someone who works in how do I say this? I work in sort of a small world, right, at the writing center. And so this is not part of my job description, but something I feel responsible to do or for doing, or it is my responsibility to do, is to read local. Um, and kind of like we've got some real big names who have like contracts with the big five in our area. Um, and mostly we don't. And that's true of all communities, right? Um, and I cannot tell you that the quality of work is different based on publisher, because that's just not the way it is. That's I don't know. I'm just glad you brought it up because I think I think this probably came from like being a teenager who loved music or something. I don't know. But I have a lot of that stigma that like local, I have worked it off. But that like local means not good because if it got big, if it was good enough, it would get big and then it would be not local. But like, what? Everyone's from somewhere. What are you
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it changes the work too. Thinking of music, like if there's a band that you discovered, you know, definitely their aesthetic changes as they get bigger and they've got uh, more commitments to fulfill, maybe.
Well, and people change. Our art has to change when we change.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can't make the same you can't make the same thing again. You're a different person.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I mean, obviously, I love reading books from bigger publishers. I love reading books from all kinds of publishers, and I'm in a mood to read, you know, a smaller publisher, a bigger author, bigger, you know, I think there's definitely horses for courses, horses for horses.
I know what you're saying. Something that is a bummer, though, is like those smaller. 'Cause I found the stuff that I've been reading lately, and I'm in school. Um, so I'm not other people with more experience are recommending work to me, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and most of the stuff that I'm coming across is really teeny tiny presses, and it makes me really sad that like I mean, one, I always want to support small presses, so it's great that I have to go directly to the press to buy it. I want to be that guy. Um, but it's just so much less likely that other people will find it.
Hmm.
That makes me really sad. I don't have a solution. I don't think like the world should be full of more ads, but that is the only real bummer, the only real hurdle is access. Huh, look at that. Came right back to access.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the tough things for Stone Corpse for sure is getting the word out, and distribution has been a nightmare. But it's something that's yeah, I mean there's definitely ways to just gotta kind of do it to figure out what works and what doesn't. But um, I've been reading a series of essays on the collapse of small press distribution and kind of the effects that it's the ramifications, I guess, that it's had on publishing, on the publishing industry, and um, from publisher between the highway, Alex Benedict, super smart cat, really cool. And it's just yeah, it's interesting to think about the commodification of publishing, and how it changes the product, expectations from the reader. And yeah, it's virtually impossible to get your name out there if you're not, with a distributor or, but there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of quality writing, that's a lot of quality work that's being published through there. So
Yeah, I always try to shop local first. Um, and this semester, my most of my books, I want to say two of my books were available through Ingram, and the rest were not. And that's, I don't know, I think I needed 8 or 10 books for school this term. So yeah. I mean, thankfully I can do that, but I don't need to belabor this point. And now I'm realizing I always do this because I get so into talking. I realized that I was not watching the time. Is there anything you would like to add before I let you go back to having a life?
no, I don't think so. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to finally talk with you, and I hope we can do it again. So from that, we'll transition to updates from the Midwest Writing Center. Um, that was a confusing note. My note in my notebook said uh stone corpse. So it's like, what? Um, okay, what do we have going on this week? Um, our new program, Memory Keepers, will premiere. Can you hear that? Sorry. Our new program, Memory Keepers, will premiere on Thursday, March 13th at 1 p.m. at the Midwest Writing Center. So that is for folks who are not working at 1 p.m. on a weekday. This program is run by Susan Collins, who is she's super, but also she's very skilled at at what this program is, which is collecting and preserving family stories for your children, for their descendants. The program is going to be part writing workshop, part this is the same category, um, part generative, part making sure that we're getting the words down, getting the words documented, and it's part having a group of people who are going through this process with you and like supporting you and encouraging you in this process. Then, very exciting, the Foster Stall chapbook series release party is next Saturday, 1 week from Saturday. Next Saturday, March 15th at Roz Talks. So we will have an open mic at 7 p.m. Doors are at 6. And then our featured readers will be the new Foster Stall authors. So we have Amy Whitmore and Joshua Bonsack, who are reading from their new books. And I got to say, we are so proud of these publications. I have read each of them at least 6 times, and I still love them. When you're going through something to edit it, it is not always fun. Writer Studio again meets the first and third Saturday of every month. Which will also be this Saturday, the 15th. The online group, or excuse me, the in-person group will be meeting at the Bettendorf Public Library rather than at the Rock Island Public Library. But all of that is normal as scheduled. Um, we still have 2 more editions of the fiction workshop series, so you can still go to those. The next 2 will be dealing with scene and conflict. So, yeah, those are important. Those are important to your fiction. Um, we have our first edition, our first meeting of the Writer Regroup group on March 25th. That's a Tuesday. It'll meet from 12 to 2 at the Atlas Collective. That's just a group for folks who want to write with somebody. Depending on I will be at that one. So depending on the vibe, we can talk about your work, struggles you might be having, or just like chat periodically because we need to get thoughts out. But if it needs to be a silent group, cool. If we want writing prompts, cool. I'm amenable. Um, I think I wanted to go into April a little bit. Of course, we'll be at Mission Creek, both during the Lit Crawl on Friday, April 4th, and at the book fair on Friday, April 5th. There will be a reading at the Atlas Collective with horror author who we had on Write More Light a couple of weeks ago, Tatiana Schlote-Bonet, author of Such Lovely Skin and upcoming book, The Mean Ones. She is really, really incredible. If you watch the show, you already know she is really incredible. Um, so yeah, great opportunity to meet her. We'll have another edition of the Writer Regroup at the Brood Book on April 10th from 2 to 4, and then another Spectra event on April 10th. We'll be announcing that very soon. And then our next workshop um, will be Saturday, April 12th, from 11 to 1 with Anait Cass, called Transmissions from the Ancestors. If folks were either watched her when her book Reparations of the Heart came out, she was on the show promoting that, but also she had an event recently at the Atlas Collective in which she talked about her journey to write that book and how she accepts information from, say, the ephemera and the archives she has from her family history. I'm gonna stop there because that was like a month out. Um, and uh, and the next step is the writing prompt. So if you only have 5 minutes, set yourself a timer for 5 minutes. If you have more time, set it for more time. Just make sure that you get some writing. Remember, whatever comes out is whatever comes out. There's no pressure to make this any specific form. But what I'm going to ask you to do today is considering the um, mm, 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 the atmosphere, what am I saying? The ambience of Stone Corpse and Blackstone Whitestone and the surreal ideas and the homemadeness. I want you to start with the word stone and write the next word, whatever, like a word association game, and go for 5 minutes. So, thank y'all for hanging out with us today. Thank you so, 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 so much, Danielle, for your time. And as always, friends, please write more light into your life.